call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now this time we will be taking a look at DC Rebirth Deathstroke. Now we have received a Deathstroke before this, but that was more of a video game Arkham Origins version, and this is a more comic version. Although it is not the classic Slade from the comics, it is a newer representation of the character. Pretty interested to take a look at this one. I know a lot of people have already reviewed him, but I want to take my own look at him and do a little bit of touch-ups to him as well. Now he does look like a smooth assassin in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now these are not really needed, but sometimes they come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front you do have some comic source material, and on the back you do have some information. Now he also does come with a couple of accessories. He comes with kind of like a short bladed knife. Now this does actually have a holster on his calf that it actually fits into, and it is a little stiffer than a lot of the blades we've come to get from McFarlane, so that's pretty cool. He also comes with a sword. Now this one is comic accurate. The handle is a little bit of a dull yellow, kind of brownish almost color, and I'm used to seeing it more of a gold color. Now that is because we did receive a kind of Deathstroke sword with the original Robin Damian Wayne release. So you compare these and the hilts kind of have a similar look, but I do love the paint on this one a little bit more. But this new one is good as well, and it does have a storage on his back for him to keep the blade in there, so that's pretty sweet. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. Now starting off, I have to say, first impressions, really well proportioned figure. This guy doesn't fall under that category of the long leg syndrome that some of the McFarlane figures have been having. But it is cool to see that with the newer figures, they're getting more proportion. This one is actually almost perfect in his proportions, so that's really nice. But all in all, a cool representation of Deathstroke. This is the Rebirth version. Couple of differences, I would say, than the actual comic, but it is pretty close. But he does have the sculpted scaling on the shoulder and on part of the chest, so all in all, pretty cool version. Pretty nice rogue to add to your villain collection, so that's always appreciated. Now let's take a closer look at the head sculpt. Pretty nice head sculpt. Of course, he always has one side blanked out and only has the use of one eye. This is also when they do show him in an unmasked version, he usually has a patch on his right eye. Really loving the sculpt detail in here though. He has like some piping lines, and it is awesome to see the clean, like smooth texture that they went with for the mask. It has no actual sculpting, so it looks a little bit more comic styled, which is cool for this figure. Let's take a look at the articulation. He does look down, looks up really high. You will not need to mod this one. He has perfect, range looking up. You got right to left, and of course you could tilt him for some character. Let's take a look at the waist. You do have side to side. Then you got that full range of motion at the waist. Lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel. You can twist them, get them in some cool poses. Now he does have crunch forward, And he also has crunch back. Get him in some pretty dramatic poses. Let's take a look at the shoulder. Now he does have a butterfly joint with the bushing in there, so you do get up and down and front to back. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, passable. Moving down from the shoulder into the gloves, you have a cool cuff there, and then some pretty unique hands for this figure. Haven't seen these hands before. And then of course you do have the McFarlane ball wrist joint that lets you get a lot of range and articulation in the hand, so that's good for like holding swords and holding guns. So pretty cool. Get him in a T pose. Actually a little bit higher, but not too much. And you can put his arms above his head. Love the lines and detail that they put on the chest. And moving down into the belt, he has a pretty nice utility belt. Really nice contrast of a little bit of gunmetal silver on the buckle. And then you have the orange pouches. Now let's go ahead and check out his thigh swivel. He has some, but it's not more than a lot we've seen. I mean, this is, just very little, but he can kick up and he can kick back pretty high. This is allowed by the rubber in the trunks, and when you put it back, they go back to their original form. Now you can cock his leg out, and he does have that sweet hip swivel. Double jointed knees, straighten them out. You have up and down at the ankle, right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Now before we go, let's take a look at the full legs. You do have some like micro bead texture on the legs. You have that, of course, that pouch for the blade. We could actually stick that in there. It fits in there actually really well. Some buckles. Love the kind of more athletic tactical boots that he has on. They do have like ridges going around. Of course, on this side he does have two straps, and this is where his holster should be, but of course I can take care of that myself. Pretty cool. Take a look at the bottom. No tread, but some identifying marks. It kind of has a slight little bit of tread around the edge, and also the marks. And then moving up the back, pretty smooth sculpt work. You do have piping lines, but not a lot of real texture. On the back of the belt, you see more pouches. You even have like a knife sheath there on the back, but it doesn't have a hilt, and it's not where you can actually put a blade in there. So I mean, it could be like an alternate blade in case the blade on this one gets broken. He could switch out this blade, but it's just a detail. It's there. It looks okay. Of course, on the back, you do have the storage for his sword. You can actually just slide this in there. It fits in pretty easily. Not too secure, but it's, works pretty well once you get the hang of it. More cool texture work. He does have cutouts where you could fit the shoulder joints in there to get more range. And then on the back, of course, he has like his tassels for his mask there. Now there is an error there. They're both black, and one should be actually orange and one black. So I'll also take care of that. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. I did just paint it with some orange paint. It did take about 3 or 5 coats before it actually coated it all with the nice matching orange. And then I did seal it. That way it would not, come off when you move it. And they actually came out pretty nice. So happy with that. So now I have an orange tassel and a black tassel, which is more accurate to the comics. And then of course I did want to add my own holster. Now I did add this holster. I started off with a black, random piece of plastic. Did shape it and cut it up to make it fit the way I wanted. Glued it on here, and then I did leave enough gap to put this sweet pistol in there, and it does actually fit right in there. So although McFarlane was not allowed to put a holster, I did add my own. The gun does fit in his hand really good. And then once it's, once you want to store it, it actually slides right into the holster. And then of course I did match the orange paint. So pretty cool. I'm actually really happy with this guy. Another cool villain to add to the shelf, and pretty pleased with him. I mean, I'm always down for different versions of characters. Before we go, let's match him up with some of the other Deathstrokes that I have in my collection. Of course, I do have the awesome DC Universe Classics Deathstroke. Now, this guy did come with all the bells and whistles. He came, with a rifle, with his staff, a pistol sidearm with working holster. I mean, he just had it all. One of the best Deathstroke figures, actually, and there is an alternate version of this one, unmasked. Then I do have a, random DC Direct version of Deathstroke. Pretty cool. And then, of course, the original McFarlane Arkham Origins release. Now, a lot of people complained about this one, that he didn't have a working holster. The gun was like molded in to the holster, but I did make it to where it's actually removable. This is my custom Deathstroke, and I did do some repainting and stuff like that. But that's a game version. He looks pretty cool up against this comic version. So of course we could see now that McFarlane is filling out the collection rather nicely. But anyways, guys, cool figure to add to the collection. I'm really happy with him. He is going to look really good up there on my shelf. Maybe we will see an unmasked version coming from McFarlane in the future, but who knows. You guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.